The backstage hallway smelled of old wood, sweat, and nervous dreams. Under the bright studio lights of the biggest talent show in the country, a small Filipino boy stood quietly in the corner. His slippers were worn thin, his shirt faded from too many washes. He held his audition number with trembling fingers, whispering a short prayer under his breath. Para kay nanay. For my mother. He came from a coastal barangay where nights were lit by candles, not electricity. Every morning, he helped his mother sell fish in the market before walking miles to school. Music was never a luxury, it was survival. When storms flooded their home, he sang to calm his younger siblings. When his mother cried from exhaustion, he sang to give her strength. As his name was called, the boy stepped onto the grand stage. The judges glanced at his simple appearance. The audience watched politely, unsure. One judge asked gently, "Why did you come here?" He swallowed hard. Gusto ko pong umahan sa harap, at mapasaya ang nanay ko. I want to rise from poverty, and make my mother happy. A ripple of emotion moved through the crowd. The lights dimmed. The music began softly. Then, he sang. The first note didn't just fill the theater, it pierced straight through the heart. His voice was pure, aching, and impossibly rich, like gold hidden beneath the dirt. It carried the pain of hunger, the hope of a better tomorrow, and the unbreakable spirit of a Filipino child who refused to give up. The audience leaned forward. One judge's smile faded into disbelief. Another's eyes glistened with tears. This wasn't just singing. This was a story. This was Laban. This was Filipino hope in human form. The boy closed his eyes, pouring everything he had into that single moment, years of struggle, sacrifice, and silent prayers. As the final note echoed, the entire theater stood frozen. No applause. No words. Only shock and awe. The camera slowly zoomed in on the judge's table. One hand hovered inches above the golden buzzer. To be continued, the boy's voice continued to rise, soft at first, then stronger, steadier, like a tide pulling everyone deeper into his story. Each word carried harap, each note carried pag-asa. The song wasn't just heard, it was felt. In the audience, an elderly woman pressed her hand to her chest. A father quietly wiped his eyes, pretending his children couldn't see. This wasn't a performance anymore. It felt like Sunday prayers, like a song sung during brownouts, like music echoing from a small bahay kubo after a long, exhausting day. The camera cut to the judges. One judge leaned forward, whispering, "Where did this child come from?" Another judge shook their head slowly, eyes shining. "This voice, it has lived." The boy sang about dreams bigger than hunger, about light after storms, about believing even when life gives nothing back. His voice cracked, not from weakness, but from truth. And that crack shattered the room. Behind the stage curtain, his mother stood frozen. Tears streamed down her face as she clasped her hands together, whispering, "Salamat, Dios ko. Thank you, my God." As the song reached its climax, the boy lifted his face toward the lights, eyes closed tight. For a moment, he wasn't poor. He wasn't afraid. He was free. The final note lingered in the air like a prayer that didn't want to end. Silence. A heavy, sacred silence. No clapping. No cheering. Just shock. One judge covered their mouth, overwhelmed. Another stood up slowly, as if their legs had forgotten how to move. The audience followed, one by one, until the entire theater rose to its feet. Still, no applause. Then, a single sniffle from the judge's table. A tear fell. The camera zoomed in. A judge's hand slowly lifted, hovering above the golden buzzer. The boy opened his eyes. Confused, scared, hopeful. Is this real, or is the dream about to end? To be continued, the boy stood center stage, chest rising and falling fast, hands clenched tight around the microphone. For a second, doubt crept into his eyes. Mali ba ako? Did I do something wrong? Then, bang! The golden buzzer was smashed. A thunderous explosion of golden confetti rained down from the ceiling like a miracle finally answering years of prayers. The sound hit before the sight, and the entire theater erupted. The boy gasped. His knees gave way. He fell to the stage, crying openly, his small body shaking as he tried to understand what was happening. He pressed his hands to his face, sobbing. Salamat po, salamat po. The judges stood instantly. One rushed toward him, lifting him gently into a hug. Son, the judge said, voice breaking, that wasn't just a song. That was your life. And the world needed to hear it. The crowd chanted his name. Strangers cried for him like family. Phones were raised, capturing a moment that would be replayed in Filipino homes for years. Backstage, his mother collapsed into a chair, weeping uncontrollably. She covered her mouth, unable to speak, as crew members rushed to support her. Anik ko, Yan, she whispered. That's my child. Golden confetti stuck to the boy's hair and shirt. He looked up, eyes wide, reaching out to touch it, as if afraid it might disappear. This is for my nene, he said through tears. For all the days we had nothing. The judge knelt beside him. From today, they said softly, your life changes. The camera pulled back. A poor boy, once invisible to the world, standing in the middle of a golden storm. The audience roared. Social media exploded. Somewhere in a small barangay, neighbors screamed in joy as the moment played live on television. The boy smiled through tears, hope finally real, finally his. But as the confetti settled, a new fear quietly entered his heart. Can he live up to this moment? The golden confetti was barely cleaned from the stage when the boy's life changed overnight. By morning, his face was everywhere, TV screens in sari-sari stores, Facebook feeds in jeepneys, group chats in every barangay. People called him a Himala. A miracle. Strangers praised him, blessed him, claimed him as their own. But behind the smiles, the boy sat quietly in a small rehearsal room, feet dangling from a chair too big for him. He stared at his phone. Kaya ba niya ulit? Can he do it again? One time lang, yan. That was just luck. The words hurt more than hunger ever did. Rehearsals were harder now. Vocal coaches corrected every note. Producers watched closely. Schedules filled his days. The boy missed home, the sound of waves, his siblings' laughter, his mother humming while cooking rice. Late one night, he heard his mother crying softly. Nene, he asked. She wiped her tears and smiled. Pagod lang ako, anak. But he knew the truth. She was afraid, for him. What if I fail? He whispered. What if they stop believing? His mother held his face gently. Anak, you didn't sing to be famous. You sang because it's who you are. The next performance day arrived. Backstage, his hands shook worse than before. This time, there was no surprise, only expectation. The crowd was louder. The judges were serious. The weight of the golden buzzer felt heavier than gold. As he stepped onto the stage, the lights blinded him. His chest tightened. For a second, he thought he couldn't breathe. The music started. He closed his eyes. He remembered nights without food. He remembered storms, prayers, and hope. He remembered why he sang. He lifted the microphone. The first note left his lips. And in that moment, the entire country held its breath. The boy stood alone under the lights, smaller than the stage, yet carrying the weight of a nation's hope. His voice rose gently, then stronger, fuller, as if every struggle he had ever known was guiding it. This time, he didn't sing to impress the judges. He sang to survive. Each lyric felt like a confession, about hunger that never broke him, about dreams that refused to die, about a child who learned to be brave long before he learned to be confident. The audience felt it instantly. People stopped filming. They just listened. A judge whispered, voice shaking. This is why this show exists. His mother watched from backstage, hands clasped to her chest, tears flowing freely. She wasn't worried anymore. She saw it clearly now. Her son wasn't chasing a moment. He was the moment. As the song reached its peak, the boy lifted his head, eyes shining, voice soaring higher than ever before. There was no pressure left. Only purpose. Only heart. The final note rang out, clean, powerful, unforgettable. For one breathless second, the world stopped. Then the theater exploded. A standing ovation thundered through the room. Judges rose together, applauding above their heads. One wiped their eyes openly and said, you didn't just earn the golden buzzer. You earned your place in history. The boy smiled through tears, gripping the microphone with both hands. Para po sa lahading batang nangangarap, he said softly. For every child who dreams. Screens across the Philippines lit up with his face. In small homes and crowded streets, people cried, cheered, and believed again. The camera pulled back. A poor boy. A golden voice. A dream fulfilled. The narrator's voice echoed. This was never just a performance. This was the birth of a legend. The end. Glowing star loudly crying musical notes.